So, good morning. Happy Wednesday. I hope you guys are able to get outside today. I went and took Belle for a walk this morning. It was super nice out already. So that is a good sign. So I want to present my screen to you just to kind of show you what you're going to be doing today. If I can get it. All right. Internet's a little slow this morning, or maybe it's just my computer, the fact that I didn't shut it off last night. All right. So today we're going to do our read aloud, which is just the author's note. I'm also going to be showing you the video, the 44-second video, and then you guys will have the Flipgrid activity to do when you're done. And it's super easy, but I do want to go over that at the end of our video. So please make sure you're holding on to the directions I got to give for the Flipgrid video at the very end. So don't leave us too early. Today, all you're doing for vocab then is practicing on Quizlet, being familiar with them. Some things that you guys said on your Padlet yesterday for the words that you are a little bit feel like would be more of a struggle to learn or not 100% sure what they mean. Make sure that you're practicing those words especially. And then we are doing something new that we haven't done in a while, and that's an ed puzzle. And the ed puzzle is where they show that video and they stop along the way and ask you questions. It is a short ed puzzle. It's not like the sorry wrong number one that we did with the mystery, though that was really fun. This ed puzzle is about, it has Mr. Valentine reading the article about the, I'm trying to think of how I had it phrased on here. It's with the hate crimes. There we go. I was going to say like terrorist attacks, but it's all the different hate crimes that have happened since the terrorist attacks from 9/11. And that's kind of connecting back to when I talked with you guys saying how in our read aloud book, there are a lot of different views within religion, just with Islam, and how there can be super extreme views that even those who have the religion of being Islamic don't agree with. So we got to keep in mind that we can't have those prejudices or stereotypes against other people. And that's kind of where, unfortunately, you guys are going to be seeing, and you guys kind of did see a little bit of it yesterday with the Google form, but here you're going to be seeing some more of the effects of, the different people and how they react to other people who identify different from them. So this is a really good exercise, and I hope you guys are learning from it and understand that we should do what we can to stop these hate crimes and these prejudices and stereotypes against other people that are different from us or what we would identify with specifically, because everyone has a different background and a different makeup. But otherwise, that's it. There are two different links. One takes it to like Reading Yours Homeroom. That link right there takes you specifically to your assignment so that it connects to and lets you log in. And then same thing for Miss Doyle's homeroom. But otherwise, that's it. And this, I think, is like a 2.5-minute video. Super easy. There's a handful of questions, some multiple choice. So I think it will really get you guys excited for what's to come. And I think it's going to really help you with the Peer Deck slideshow for tomorrow's activity. So all you have to do today, listen to this last read aloud out of Escape from Aleppo, and then do the Flipgrid activity, practice vocab words, and do ed puzzle. So it should be really pretty easy. This is a super quick read aloud. And again, please hold on to the very end. Don't leave right away. I am going to be sharing with you guys the the video so that you don't have to watch it. You can just watch it in one fell swoop. And then right after that, I am going to give you the directions and really explain that Flipgrid, because I can see a lot of us not reading the directions at the top. So hang on at the end. All right. So this is only a couple pages. It's the author's note. It shouldn't be that long. Yesterday we finished with Amazon and and I forgot her name already. Anus. Anus is the old healer lady. And Amazon decided to stay back at Anus's house because they're too old. They want to die at home or homeland, and they don't want to travel to Turkey anymore, especially with Amazon, with us finding out that he has cancer, that he's surprised he made it an extra 3 months than what was originally stated by the doctors. So we found out that they stayed behind, and we know that ISIS and Syrian armies are coming in 2 different directions and meeting up in the city of Azaz. Or Azaz is the city that ISIS has control over. So we found that. And then the kids just continued their journey with Jamila and the cart. And they eventually found the Turkey border and the gate that they needed to cross. We found out that the ISIS had a lot of teenagers in it and looked very weary and tired, and they didn't end up doing anything that was stated. But Nadia was really searching for her dad, and at the gate she happened to see someone with the matching colored jacket to the cap that her dad gave her. So that's how it ended. So just as a recap for that. So now we have our author's note. On September 22nd, 2016. So this is 3 years after where the story ended in our book. The Assad regime launched an offensive against rebel strongholds in Aleppo. Syrian troops, with the backing of Iran and Russia, pushed into the eastern part of the city, home to the famous souks and the citadel through which Nadia journeyed. So it's the place with all those little market shops that were abandoned. By the end of the year, only 5% of the territory remained in rebel hands. Only 5%. And a temporary ceasefire allowed citizens to be evacuated. A few weeks later, the Syrian army declared they had taken complete control of the city. Aleppo fell to the regime, giving the Syrian government control over 1/3 of the country. Meanwhile, rebel groups, ISIS, and Kurdish forces continued to struggle for control over the rest of the country. So it sounds like ISIS is starting to want its own piece. Even though it's from outside of the country, it's wanting its own piece of land of Syria. Reeling from 6 years of war, Syria is fractured, a broken down country, its cities in ruins, its people deeply traumatized. The numbers are simply staggering. Since the conflict began, more than 450,000 Syrians have been killed. It's almost 500,000 people killed, just Syrians. More than 1.8 million injured, and 12 million. Half the country's pre-war population was displaced from their homes as refugees. 12 million people. In the winter of 2010, my family, so this is the author's note, this is the true author of this book. Remember, she is a refugee herself. My family and I watched the news from Tunisia with fear and hope. It amazed us how Muhammad Bouazizi's suicide, so the person with the cart at the very beginning with the fruit and vegetable cart, his huge suicide scene that sparked revolution. I think he set himself on fire, if I remember correctly. I can't remember. Was true, it sounds like, based off of what the author experienced. And the author doesn't have her first name, N.H. Senzai. So if anyone while I'm reading wants to see if they can figure out what her first name is, it's N.H. Senzai. So whatever the first, who's the author of Escape from Aleppo, and then it should hopefully give us the first name, because that's interesting that it starts with an N, like Nadia, our main character. So I'm kind of curious if that is it or not. Anyway, so while you're looking for that. So it amazed us how Muhammad Bouazizi's suicide in protest of mistreatment by corrupt government officials sparked a regional revolution. But it was not really a surprise that he became the symbol of the frustration felt by millions across the Middle East. So not just Syria, several countries in the Middle East. Many lived under autocratic governments and desired a more democratic political system and a brighter economic future. News of Bouazizi's death spread like wildfire, amplified by the technology and social media. In particular, Facebook and Twitter. Tunisia fell to the will of the people within weeks, and the president fled the country. This buoyed the spirits of those in neighboring countries, and soon, Tahrir Square in Cairo, which is in Egypt, bulged with the suppressed fury of the Egyptians. Nahid Hasnat Senzai. So Nahid is the author's first name, and I believe she's a girl. Thank you. Within months, they too had toppled their dictator, and the fire, now called the Arab Spring, continued to spread across the region. So the Arab Spring is a ton of Middle Eastern countries whose people are rebelling against their leaders, their government leaders, because they are being mistreated. So this is like getting people in other countries to want to revolt against their government from based on what they're seeing online. Just like how you guys know what's going on with like the coronavirus, the killer bees, like all that kind of stuff. The internet is a very powerful source. It can be super helpful or super hurtful. And in this case, it spread news like crazy. My husband, who teaches Middle East politics, and I lived and traveled in the region. Through our friends there, we heard first-hand accounts of the turmoil. Finally, the flame had reached Syria in February of 2012, arriving at a time when the people were at the midst of economic hardship, meaning their jobs aren't doing well, money is not coming in. That's what it means, economic hardship. Money's not coming in. And social unrest. And social unrest is like the mistreatment of people. How people socialize one another is not going over well, especially with the government. Frustrations were amplified as thousands of farmers flooded into the cities. Why do we know that farmers fled into the cities? What did News talk about since the conflict began? Weather-wise, what has not happened? Rain. So it's been like a constant drought in the very beginning, which is what sparked farmers to have this huge unrest. They went to the city to search for jobs, and that's where it kind of added some extra hardships for everyone else, and it sounds like the government didn't handle it too well. So farmers flooded into the cities trying to escape a multi-year drought, so several years without rain. Insane. I can't even imagine. Precipitation because of climate change. It was the city of Daraa where a group of boys was arrested and tortured for spray painting slogans against the government. That was the fuse. The fuse was lit. Emboldened, ordinary people flooded into the streets then to protest. The Syrian army retaliated with brutal force, and the rebellion was then born. At first, it looked hopeful, but months turned into years, and the bloody battles raged on. With hundreds of rebel factions, meaning like groups of people, defending their territories and ideologies, their ideas. Although the initial protests were mostly non-sectarian, armed conflict led to the emergence of starker sectarian divisions within the country. And in war, it is the people who suffer. Who can forget the image of Aylan Kurdi, the tiny boy wearing a little red shirt, lying drowned in a Turkish beach? So Turkish beach in Turkey, a beach in Turkey, he's dead, drowned. So remember, for those who stuck around yesterday, I pulled up a map. There are some people who try to flee to Turkey by swimming. They try to flee to other countries by swimming. And I'm assuming that's what happened. The little boy tried swimming to Turkey and simply was too weak. Remember, they don't get a whole lot of food. So he was too weak to continue swimming all the way to Turkey. It was heart-rending images of children fleeing the war that made me want to do something more than send aid and contact my ineffectual government representatives. I wanted to put a human face on the story unfolding before us. Sadly, Elan reminded me of Miriam from my first book, Shooting Kabul. So if you're wanting another good read, Shooting Kabul is another good read. When I finished that book, I felt that I had left one story unfinished, and that was the story of the little girl who was accidentally left behind by her family as they flee Kabul, Afghanistan. So Kabul is a city in Afghanistan. Although Miriam has a happy ending, the thought of what could happen to a child lost in a war lingered in the back of my mind. Nadia's story grew from there, with the hope of providing a window into the lives of the Syrian people, their country, and its history, arts, and culture. That's it. So do know that Nahid Senzai has witnessed all like the different war that's been happening with the Arab Spring, and that's been like her main purpose as an author. She's written a lot of refugee books like Shooting Kabul, and to kind of help, just like social media, spread word of the conflicts that are still going on in the Middle East, in several areas around in the world, such as Sudan. So I'm going to present my screen again. I'm going to play the video for you guys that you have to watch now in order to do your Flipgrid. So I'm going to the Flipgrid. I'm going to play the video. Come on. Well, we're going to pause this. There we go. Use that so I can get a full screen for you guys. You can do it. Go to full screen. Oh, the internet. Why? Well, we're just going to leave it like this. It's not happy. So this is the old city of Aleppo that Nadia had to travel through. Here's one of the mosques or religious buildings. Same one, different perspective. Citadel is, I think that like huge tower pillar she was trying to hide like below in the water. Here's a school. And that's it. So what you're going to do now, it says you have 2 things you need to complete. Okay, so 2 steps, and I have them numbered here. What are your thoughts and reactions to how our read aloud ended? So the plot does not necessarily have to be the author's note that we just read today, but it could be what we read yesterday. I actually encourage you to have it be what we finished off with yesterday. So what are your thoughts on reactions about how the read aloud ended with the plot? Elaborate on it a little bit. And then after, since we watched this short video of seeing the city of Aleppo before and after war or major war conflicts, what are your reactions with that? Maybe what are some connections you're making with the book? That kind of thing. Here's the other thing. I want you to talk for 1 minute. Okay, so I don't think that should be too bad. If you're close, that's fine. But I'm looking for at least 50 seconds to 1 minute. All right. I'll end my presentation. So I am looking that you are having it that long. It is not that hard to talk for 1 minute. I know you guys are extreme talkers, and it's been a while since we did a Flipgrid, so I am looking for that. If you are not 50 seconds at least, then I will be downgrading you. Okay?